The call to arms. The message arrived on a quiet Thursday morning at Earth United Command Headquarters beneath the Sierra Nevada mountains. Admiral Elena Rice stared at the quantum transmission, her dark eyes narrowing as the alien text scrolled across her screen, automatically translating into English. "They're being systematically exterminated," she said, her voice barely audible. The room fell silent as 20 of Earth's highest-ranking military and political officers exchanged glances. For nearly a century, humanity had been treated as the galactic community's country cousins, primitive apes who had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel through sheer luck. The advanced species shared just enough technology to establish basic communication, but kept humans at arm's length. Except for the Zorians. The crystalline beings had recognized something in humans that others missed. They had shared knowledge, established trade routes, and defended humanity's interests in the Galactic Council. Now they were dying. "How long until total defeat?" asked President Ibarra, his weathered face betraying no emotion. 3 Earth weeks, replied Reyes. "The Krell Dominion is methodically destroying every Zorian outpost and colony." General Haruki Ajong crossed his arms. "And why exactly should we care?" The Zorians were friendly, sure, but they never shared weapons technology or defensive capabilities. Admiral Reyes turned to face the others, her expression resolute. "We can deploy the Nemesis." The room erupted into shouts. Project Nemesis had been Earth's best-kept secret for 20 years. While publicly accepting their place as a minor species, humanity had secretly devoted vast resources to building something the galaxy had never seen. A warship that combined reverse-engineered alien tech with human ingenuity and humanity's unique talent for warfare. "It's not ready," argued Director Chen from the Science Division. "We've only run simulations. The ship has never fired a shot in actual combat." "It's as ready as it will ever be," countered Reyes. "And Captain Okafor has been training her crew for 5 years. President Ibarra stood, silencing the room. "I need to speak with Okafor before I make my decision." Captain Amara Okafor stood in the massive hangar of Pluto Base Alpha, gazing up at the gleaming hull of the EUC Nemesis. Nearly 2 kilometers long, the warship looked nothing like the elegant organic curves of other species' vessels. It was angular, brutal, and bristling with weapon systems that would make most galactic powers nervous. "Just like humanity to build something that looked like it meant business," thought Okafor. "She's something else, isn't she?" said a voice behind her. Okafor turned to see Lieutenant Commander Darius Chen, her executive officer, approaching. His eyes reflected the harsh lights of the hangar. "Beautiful and untested," replied Okafor. "I'm not sure if I should be honored or terrified that they gave her to me." Chen smiled. "Both, probably. The crew is ready, by the way. Final drills finished an hour ago." Okafor nodded. She had handpicked every one of the 412 crew members, the best Earth had to offer. Pilots, engineers, tactical officers, and Marines. None had families. All had volunteered knowing they might never return. "Captain Okafor," called a voice over the comm. "Urgent call from EUC headquarters." "You want us to go to war?" asked Okafor, facing the holographic projections of President Ibarra and Admiral Reyes. "Against a dominion that controls 27 star systems." "We want you to save our only ally," replied Ibarra. "And yes, that means war." Okafor looked down at the deck beneath her feet. "My crew is ready. The ship is as ready as it can be. But you understand what this means, right? Once we reveal what we've built, every species in the galaxy will know we've been hiding our true capabilities." Reyes nodded grimly. "If we do nothing, the Zorians die. If we act, we might save them, but we definitely announce to the galaxy that humans are not to be underestimated." "There's another possibility," said Okafor quietly. "We fail, we die, and the Krell come for Earth next." The President's holographic eyes met Okafor's. "That's why we're sending you, Captain. Don't fail." 3 days later, The Nemesis's engines glowed blue as it pulled away from the Pluto dock. The massive ship accelerated smoothly, heading for the edge of the solar system, where it could safely engage its FTL drive. On the bridge, Okafor sat in the command chair, her face illuminated by the glow of monitors. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. FTL coordinates locked in, Captain, reported Lieutenant Raj Patel from the navigation station. Course set for the Zorian home system. Communications check complete, added Lieutenant Sophia Winters. We're running silent as ordered. Okafor took a deep breath. Engage FTL. Let's go save our friends. The Nemesis dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Zorian home system. The massive ship shuddered slightly as its engines adjusted to normal space. On the bridge, the crew looked at the main view screen in horror. The Zorian defense fleet was in ruins. Broken ships drifted in silent clusters, while Krell warships methodically fired on escape pods and rescue vessels. In the distance, one of Zorian's moons showed a massive impact crater, evidence of the Krell's planet-killer weapons. "My God," whispered Chen, standing beside Okafor's command chair. "We're too late." Okafor's hands tightened on the armrests. Tactical assessment, Lieutenant Winters. Winters's fingers flew over her console. I count 43 Krell warships of various classes. Their flagship is in orbit around the Zorian homeworld. She paused. "Sir, they're bombarding civilian population centers." Okafor stood up. "Battle stations. Shields at maximum. Bring all weapon systems online." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. The Nemesis was powerful, but 43 warships was an impossible number. "Sir," said Patel from his station, "do we have a plan?" "We're outnumbered." Okafor nodded. "We do. The Krell don't know what we're capable of, and they don't know we're here yet." She moved to the tactical display. "Here's what we're going to do. We'll target their command ships first. Their fleet structure is hierarchical. Take out the leaders, and the rest will be confused." "And then?" asked Chen. Okafor's eyes were hard. "And then we show them why it was a mistake to mess with humanity's only friend." Deep in the engineering section of the Nemesis, Chief Engineer Siovan Kelly monitored the ship's main reactor. The glowing core pulsed with energy, its blue light washing over her face. "Power levels stable," she reported through her comm. "All weapons systems green. But Captain, I have to warn you. We've never run all systems at combat levels before. The simulations say we can do it, but—" "Understood, Chief," came Okafor's voice. "Do your best." Kelly turned to her team of engineers. "You heard the captain. I want manual overrides ready on all systems. If the computers can't handle the load, we step in." A young engineer raised his hand. "Sir, what about the singularity cannon? It's never been fired before." Kelly's face was grim. "We're about to find out if it works, aren't we?" On the bridge, Okafor stood before her crew. "I know what you're thinking. We're outnumbered. We're untested. But remember what we're fighting for. The Zorians were the only ones who believed in us, the only ones who treated us as equals. Today, we proved they were right." She returned to her chair. "Helm, set course for the largest concentration of enemy ships, maximum speed. Weapons, target the lead vessel with the singularity cannon. Communications, broadcast on all frequencies. I want every ship in this system to hear us." The massive engines of the Nemesis flared to life. The warship accelerated toward the heart of the Krell fleet, its angular hull gleaming against the backdrop of stars. "Broadcasting now, Captain," said Winters. Okafor stood up straight. "This is Captain Amara Okafor of the EUC Nemesis. You are attacking our allies. Cease fire immediately and withdraw, or face the consequences." For a moment, there was silence. Then a harsh, clicking language filled the bridge, automatically translating through the ship's computers. "Human vessel, you have no standing here. Leave now or be destroyed." Okafor smiled grimly. "I was hoping you'd say that. Fire the singularity cannon." The front of the Nemesis split open like a blooming flower, revealing a massive cannon. Energy coalesced at its center, bending light around it. With a soundless flash, the weapon fired. The beam struck the lead Krell ship. For a second, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessel began to collapse in on itself, metal crumpling like paper as artificial gravity thousands of times stronger than normal crushed it from all directions. The Krell fleet responded immediately. Energy weapons and missiles streaked toward the Nemesis. "Evasive maneuvers," ordered Okafor. "Bring us alongside the next target. Conventional weapons, fire at will." The Nemesis twisted impossibly fast for a ship its size, its point defense systems intercepting missiles while its shields flared under energy impacts. The human warship's own weapons opened up, railguns accelerating projectiles to near light speed and laser arrays cutting through Krell shields. 2 more enemy ships exploded. The rest began to coordinate their attack. Shields at 60%, called Chen as the ship shook from a direct hit. "We can't take much more of this. Singularity cannon needs 3 more minutes to recharge," reported the weapons officer. Okafor gritted her teeth. "Helm, get us behind that moon fragment. We need cover." As the Nemesis limped toward the shattered Zorian moon, Okafor watched the tactical display. They had destroyed 3 Krell ships and damaged several others, but the enemy was regrouping. This wasn't a battle they could win. Not today. "New contacts," shouted Winter suddenly. Multiple signatures appearing on long-range sensors. Okafor felt her heart sink. Krell reinforcements. But then Winter's expression changed to one of confusion. "Captain, these aren't Krell signatures. I'm detecting Zorian energy patterns." The view screen shifted to show a dozen crystalline ships emerging from FTL, their designs elegant and deadly, unlike anything Okafor had seen from the Zorians before. A transmission came through. "EUC Nemesis, this is Elder Shivex of the Zorian Deep Fleet. We observe your intervention. Perhaps humanity is more interesting than we initially believed. Shall we continue this battle together?" Okafor exchanged glances with Chen, then smiled. "Elder Shivex, we would be honored to fight alongside you. Let's show the Krell what happens when they pick on our friends." As the Nemesis and the Zorian Deep Fleet moved into formation, Okafor couldn't help but think that the galaxy was about to learn an important lesson about humanity and the lengths they would go to protect their allies. The battle for the Zorian homeworld had just begun. Turning the tide. The Nemesis limped through space, its once gleaming hull now scorched and torn. Emergency lights flashed throughout the ship as repair crews worked frantically to seal breaches and restore critical systems. Their first major battle had been a victory of sorts. They had destroyed 12 Krell ships with the help of the Zorian Deep Fleet and forced the rest to retreat temporarily. But the cost had been high. In the medical bay, Okafor stood beside Chen's bed. His face was pale, tubes and wires connecting him to various machines. The ship's doctor, an older woman named Dr. Reynolds, checked his vital signs with a grim expression. "He took the brunt of an explosion when the tactical station overloaded," Reynolds explained. "Third-degree burns, concussion, 3 broken ribs, and internal bleeding. We've stabilized him, but he needs better medical care than I can provide here." Okafor nodded slowly. "Will he make it?" Reynolds hesitated. "If we can get him to a proper medical facility within the next few days, yes. If not..." The captain's comm unit buzzed. "Sir, this is Winters. Long-range scanners show the Krell fleet regrouping. They're calling for reinforcements." She paused. "And we're getting a transmission from the Zorian flagship. Elder Shivex wants to speak with you." "On my way," Okafor replied. She looked down at Chen one last time, then headed for the bridge. The main view screen showed a Zorian elder, its crystalline form pulsating with inner light as it spoke. "Captain Okafor, your intervention was unexpected. We had not thought Earth capable of producing such a vessel." "We're full of surprises," Okafor replied. "What's your situation?" "Dire. The Krell have destroyed our orbital defenses and many of our cities. We have survivors in underground shelters, but the Krell will return with greater numbers. Their hatred for our kind is irrational. Okafor glanced at the damage reports scrolling across a nearby console. We hurt them, but we're in no shape for another direct engagement. Our FTL drive is damaged. We need repairs. Shivex's crystalline form shifted colors slightly. There is a neutral trading post at Nexus Station, 3 light years from here. Even damage, your ship should reach it. The station's neutrality is respected by all major species. Even the Krell would not risk entering the station's administrators. Go there, make your repairs. We will hold out as long as we can. Okafor frowned. I didn't come all this way to abandon you. You are not abandoning us, Shivex said gently. You are ensuring you can continue to fight. A broken blade cannot defend anyone. Incoming transmission from Krell command ship, interrupted Winters. They're demanding our surrender. Okafor's jaw tightened. Ignore it. She turned back to Shivex. We'll evacuate as many of your people as we can before we go. Thank you, Captain, said the Zorian elder. And may your journey be swift. The galaxy has never seen humans fight. After today, they will never forget. Nexus Station hung in space like a massive wheel, its spokes extending from a central hub. Ships of various designs docked at ports along the rim, representing dozens of species and factions from across the galaxy. The Nemesis approached slowly, its damaged engines sputtering occasionally. In the 3 days since fleeing the Zorian system, repair crews had worked nonstop, but the ship still needed extensive work. They're hailing us, reported Winters. Put them through, ordered Okafor. A reptilian face appeared on screen. Unidentified vessel. This is Nexus Station Control. State your business. This is Captain Amara Okafor of the EUC Nemesis. We request emergency docking and repair facilities. The reptilian's eyes widened slightly. Human vessel. Interesting. Your species rarely ventures this far. Docking fees. We have wounded, interrupted Okafor, and we're being pursued by Krell warships. I suggest you expedite our docking request. After a moment's hesitation, the controller nodded. Proceed to Spoke 4, Bay 17. Medical teams will meet you there. The station's main concourse bustled with activity. Aliens of all descriptions moved through the wide hall, trading goods and information. Okafor walked with Chief Engineer Kelly, both women drawing curious stares from the station's inhabitants. How long for repairs? Okafor asked quietly. Kelly ran a hand through her red hair. 5 days minimum. The main drive took a direct hit, and we need replacement parts for the singularity cannon. The good news is I think I can improve the shield modulators based on what we learned during the battle. Can we get what we need here? Maybe. This place seems to have everything, for a price. As they rounded a corner, they nearly collided with a tall, slender alien with 6 limbs and iridescent skin. The alien regarded them with multifaceted eyes. Humans, it said, its translator making the word sound almost like a question. You are far from your homeworld. Okafor nodded cautiously. We are. I am Vexith, information broker. Word travels quickly on Nexus Station. They say you engaged the Krell in defense of the Zorians. The alien's head tilted. Curious behavior for a species so new to interstellar travel. The Zorians are our friends, said Okafor simply. Vexith made a gesture that might have been amusement. Friends are rare in this galaxy, Captain. Rarer still are those willing to die for them. The alien paused. I may have information that would interest you. About the Krell, their fleet movements, and perhaps something else. Something ancient that might help level your odds. Why would you help us? Asked Kelly suspiciously. The Krell believe in dominance above all else. Their expansion threatens many, including my own people. Balance is preferable. Vexith extended a data chip. Coordinates. An abandoned station from a civilization long gone. technology that might be compatible with your unique approach to warfare. Okafor took the chip, studying the alien carefully. What's your price? Consider it an investment in the future, one where the Krell do not rule unchallenged. Vexith stepped back. Be cautious, Captain. Your arrival has caused quite a stir. Not all eyes watching you are friendly. 4 days later, the Nemesis approached the coordinates Vexith had provided. The ship's engines were running smoothly again, though the singularity cannon was still offline. Sensors detecting a structure ahead, reported Patel. It's massive and ancient. The view screen showed what appeared to be a derelict space station, its design unlike anything Okafor had ever seen. Angular yet somehow organic, it drifted silently among the asteroids of an unnamed system. Life signs? Asked Okafor. None, replied Winters. No power signatures either. It appears completely abandoned. Okafor stood. Assemble an away team. Full environmental suits. I want to know if our information broker was telling the truth. The airlock cycled open, and Okafor stepped into the alien structure, followed by Kelly, Winters, and 2 security officers. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing vast empty chambers. Atmosphere is thin but breathable, reported Winters, checking her scanner. Gravity at about 0.8 Earth standard. Temperature cold but survivable. They moved deeper into the structure, their footsteps echoing. The walls were covered in strange angular patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. These markings, said Kelly quietly, running her hand along one wall. They're some kind of circuit pathways, but nothing I've ever seen before. They entered a massive central chamber. In the center stood what appeared to be control consoles covered in dust. It's a weapons research facility, said Okafor suddenly, her voice filled with wonder. Look at those testing chambers, those diagnostic arrays. This is where they developed weapons. Kelly moved to one of the consoles, brushing away dust. To her surprise, lights flickered beneath her touch. There's still power, she said. Dormant, but present. Winters joined her, her scanner hovering over the controls. If I'm interpreting these symbols correctly, this might be a main systems terminal. Kelly's eyes widened as she studied the console. Captain, I think we might be able to use this place. The technology is advanced, but there are principles here I recognize. With some time, we could not only repair the Nemesis, but enhance it. Okafor looked around the chamber, new hope forming. How long? 3 days, maybe. Less if we bring more engineers over from the ship. Okafor nodded. Do it. The Zorians are still fighting, and we need to get back out there. 3 days later, the Nemesis moved silently through the outer edge of the Zorian system, its engines running at minimal power to avoid detection. Its hull gleamed with new modifications, angular protrusions that pulsed with a faint blue light. Inside the ship, the mood was tense but determined. On the bridge, Okafor studied the tactical display where a large cluster of red dots indicated the Krell fleet. Nearly 100 ships now, gathered around the Zorian homeworld. They've established orbital control, reported Winters. Ground invasion has begun in 3 major cities. The Zorian resistance is reporting heavy casualties. And our new upgrades? Asked Okafor, turning to Kelly, who stood at a modified engineering station. The chief engineer smiled for the first time in days. The phase shift technology we recovered is fully integrated with our systems. Shields are 300% more effective, and the singularity cannon can now fire 3 times before requiring a cooldown. Plus, she gestured to a new control panel. We have a surprise for them. Okafor returned to her command chair. Battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. As the crew moved to their positions, Lieutenant Patel looked up from his station. Captain, what's our strategy? Even with the upgrades, we're still outnumbered. Okafor's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. The Krell believe in overwhelming force. They rely on numbers, not tactics. We'll use that against them. She tapped a control, bringing up a detailed view of the enemy fleet. Their command ships are here, in the center of the formation. We hit them hard and fast, then use our new capabilities to evade their counterattack. And the Zorians? Asked Winters. They'll know when to join the fight. Let's remind the galaxy why it's a bad idea to make enemies of humanity and our friends. The Krell flagship, Dominance, hung in orbit above the Zorian capital, its massive hull dwarfing the surrounding vessels. On its bridge, High Commander Xerex watched as bombardment continued on the planet below. Resistance in Sector 7 is nearly crushed, reported a subordinate. Our ground forces are encountering minimal opposition. Xerex clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. Excellent. Once we... Commander, interrupted another officer. Energy spike detected. Something is approaching at high velocity. The view screen shifted to show empty space. Then, with a flash of blue light, a ship appeared, angular, brutal, and unmistakably the human vessel that had interfered days earlier. Impossible, hissed Xerex. They fled. Sir, they're powering weapons. The bridge shook violently as something struck the Dominance. Alarms blared. Shields failing. Unknown weapon technology detected. Xerex rose from his command chair. All ships, destroy that human vessel. The Nemesis shot through the heart of the Krell fleet, its upgraded weapons tearing through enemy shields like paper. The Singularity cannon fired 3 times in rapid succession, each shot crushing the Krell command ship. Phase shift in 3, 2, 1, called Kelly. The ship shimmered and seemed to partially disappear as the modified shields engaged, allowing energy weapons to pass harmlessly through its hull. Shift successful, reported Kelly. We can maintain this state for 40 seconds before needing to recharge. Okafor nodded. Helm, bring us around for another pass. Target their flagship's propulsion systems. The Nemesis reappeared behind the Krell formation, catching them by surprise again. Rail's guns opened fire, targeting the massive engines of the Dominance. Captain, called Winters suddenly. I'm detecting multiple FTL signatures. More ships incoming. Okafor tensed. Krell reinforcements. Winters shook her head, a smile breaking across her face. No, sir. Zorian energy signatures, and something else. Human signatures. It's the EUC Phoenix and Valiant. The view screen showed a dozen Zorian ships emerging from FTL, their crystalline hulls gleaming. Behind them came 2 more angular vessels, smaller than the Nemesis, but unmistakably human in design. This is Captain Marcos of the EUC Phoenix, came a voice over the comm. Heard you could use some backup, Captain Okafor. Earth decided your idea was worth investing in. The Krell fleet, suddenly facing opposition from multiple directions, began to break formation. Some ships turned to engage the newcomers, while others maintained their attack on the Nemesis. Perfect timing, replied Okafor. Let's finish this. All ships, coordinate fire on the Krell flagship. Use frequency 937 to bypass their shields. The combined fleet moved with surprising coordination, converging on the Dominance. The massive Krell vessel attempted evasive maneuvers, but the damage to its engines limited its mobility. They're transmitting, reported Winters. Audio only. Put it through, ordered Okafor. Human vessel, came the harsh voice of the Krell commander. This is not over. The Dominion spans dozens of systems. You have won a battle, not the war. Okafor stood from her command chair. High Commander Xerex, I presume. You're right. This isn't over. But today, you learned that humanity protects its friends, and we are more than the primitive species you dismissed. We're offering you one chance to withdraw your forces from Zorian space. Or what, human? Okafor smiled grimly. Or we show you what our species does best. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Your choice. There was a long pause. Then, we will withdraw. But the Krell Empire does not forget, human. Neither does humanity, replied Okafor. Remember that. 2 weeks later, the Nemesis docked at Earth's newly completed orbital station. Crowds had gathered in viewing areas to catch a glimpse of the ship that had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. On the bridge, Okafor stood with her senior staff, including a recovered Chen, as they prepared for disembarkation. "The Zorian ambassador has requested a permanent alliance with Earth," reported Winters, "and 3 other species have opened diplomatic channels." "And the Krell?" asked Okafor. "Quiet for now. They've withdrawn to their core systems." Okafor nodded, gazing out at the Earth below. "They'll be back eventually. But we'll be ready." "What happens now, Captain?" asked Kelly. "Now," Okafor smiled, "now humanity takes its rightful place among the stars, not as the primitive cousins to be ignored, but as equals to be respected." She turned to her crew. "And we'll be there to make sure it happens." As they filed off the bridge, Chen fell into step beside Okafor. "You know they're already building more ships like the Nemesis, right? A whole fleet of them." "Good," replied Okafor, "because there's a lot more galaxy out there, and humanity has just announced its arrival." Outside the viewports, Earth shone blue and green against the blackness of space, a small world whose inhabitants had proven they would not be underestimated again. The galaxy would never be the same.